A stranger arrives in Ayamfei Village, beautiful, quiet, and fearless. She rejects every man, even the prince. But envy and pride stir a deadly plot. When the villagers try to harm her, she reveals a secret buried for generations. A curse, a river, and a woman wronged long ago. What happens next will shock the village and change their lives forever. Will they survive the test of the river goddess? Thank you for joining Frankie Stories. Have you seen her? Mama Esi whispered, tightening her grip on the basket balanced on her head. I have seen her, Baba Kunnal replied, squinting beneath the shade of the Irako tree. And I tell you, no ordinary woman walks with such silence. Dara arrived in Ayamfei Village just as the morning sun brushed the red earth with gold. Her wrapper was the color of pale river foam, her hair braided simply, her feet bare as though the ground itself recognized her. She paused at the village square, bowed respectfully, and greeted the elders. Peace be upon this land, she said. And upon you, Elder Sola replied cautiously. From where do you come? From where the water remembers, Dara answered with a soft smile. The words stirred murmurs. Nearby, young men straightened, pretending not to stare. Women nudged one another, curiosity battling suspicion. Does she have a husband? One woman asked. If she does, another replied. He must be invisible. Funk watched from her stall, her eyes narrowing. She walks as if she owns the air, she muttered. Before dusk, Prince Atakunnal's messenger arrived. The prince welcomes you, the boy announced proudly. He asks that you dine at the palace. Dara shook her head gently. Tell your prince I am grateful, but I seek no man's table. Gasps rippled through the crowd. She rejected the prince? Funk whispered, disbelief hardening into envy. That night, the river beside Ayamfei swelled slightly, its waters whispering secrets only the moon seemed to hear. Dara, you will cause trouble with that mouth of yours, Funk said lightly as they knelt beside each other, pounding yam in the early morning sun. Dara laughed softly. Is trouble born from honesty, or from those who cannot accept it? Funk paused, pestle hovering midair. A woman must choose carefully. Men here do not enjoy refusal. I do not exist for enjoyment, Dara replied calmly. I exist because I am. Their conversation was interrupted by Kola the hunter, his chest puffed out, his charms clinking proudly. Stranger, he said, lowering his voice. A woman as fine as you should not walk alone. Dara looked at him steadily. Alone does not mean unguarded. Kola frowned. I offer protection, a home, respect. I offer myself respect already, Dara said, rising. That is enough. Humiliation darkened Kola's face as villagers snickered. Later, Ao approached with sweet words and heavy promises. And when he failed, Tundi tried flattery mixed with threat. Each left angered. At the stream that evening, whispers followed Dara like flies. She thinks she is better than us. She must be hiding something. Funk listened, her smile tight. A woman who refuses all men invites disgrace, she said carefully, planting seeds in eager ears. As darkness fell, Dara stood by the river, fingers skimming the water. Not yet, she whispered. The river rippled in response, as if agreeing. Did you see the way she spoke to me? Kola growled, pacing beneath the palm trees. As if I were a beggar. Ao scoffed, spitting into the dust. She laughed at my gifts. No woman refuses gold unless pride has poisoned her. Tundi folded his arms. Or unless she thinks herself untouchable. Funk sat among them, pretending concern while her heart danced. Perhaps she does not understand our ways, she said softly. Ayamfei women know a man brings honor, and she brings shame, Kola snapped. Funk leaned closer, lowering her voice. If the elders hear she insults men openly, they may question her character. Ao's eyes lit up. We could teach her a lesson, something small, something that humbles. What lesson? Tundi asked. Funk hesitated, then smiled. There is a path by the river she walks alone at night. If she is frightened enough, she may learn obedience. Kola clenched his fist. She must kneel. That night, Funk visited Dara. Come, she said sweetly. There is a moonlit clearing you must see. Dara studied her friend carefully. Your smile shakes, she said. Funk laughed too loudly. You imagine things. As they walked, the river murmured louder than usual, its current tugging against the bank. Turn back, Dara whispered, but Funk tightened her grip. You will see. From the shadows, 3 figures waited, their anger sharp as blades. Why have you stopped? Funk asked, forcing a laugh as Dara slowed near the river path. The air is heavy with lies, Dara replied quietly. Before Funk could answer, Kola stepped out from the trees. You should have chosen better company, he sneered. Ao and Tundi followed, blocking the path behind them. Funk gasped dramatically. What is this? I did not know they would be here, she cried, though her eyes refused to meet Dara's. You brought her, Kola said. Do not pretend innocence now. Dara looked from one face to another, her voice steady. You walk the same road your ancestors once walked. Ao laughed harshly. Threats from a woman? He reached for her arm. The river roared. The ground trembled, and cold wind tore through the trees. Dara's body shimmered, her skin glowing faintly like moonlight on water. Step back, Tundi whispered, fear cracking his voice. Dara lifted her head, her eyes now deep and endless. I am not the woman you think you cornered. Funk stumbled backward. Dara, I was sent. The voice that answered echoed, layered and ancient. Sent by the river goddess. The water rose violently, circling them without touching. Generations ago, the spirit continued. You cast a woman named BC into this river for choosing solitude. Visions flooded their minds. Screams, stones, blood-stained water. You failed the test, the spirit said coldly. Funk fell to her knees, sobbing. We did not know. The river surged higher. Your village will remember. BC begged them, the spirit said, her voice rippling like water striking stone. Not for love, not for mercy, only for the right to choose. The river's surface shimmered, and the night dissolved into vision. An elder's voice echoed from the past. A woman alone brings curses. No, Funk cried, clutching her head as images poured in. Men dragging a struggling woman, villagers watching in silence, stones tied to trembling feet. They said she was proud, the spirit continued. They said her body was wasted if untouched. Kola collapsed to the ground. We are not them, but you are their blood, the spirit replied, and you repeated their cruelty. The vision ended abruptly. The river fell silent. Dara stood before them once more, human in shape but no longer human in truth. The river goddess spared Ayamfei then, she said. She chose patience over destruction. For generations, the spirit added. We waited. Funk sobbed. Why now? Because the test returned, Dara answered. In flesh, in kindness, in refusal. Ao shook violently. What will happen to us? The curse will begin with dawn, the spirit said calmly. Your crops will rot. The river will shrink. Sickness will walk freely. Tundi screamed. How do we stop it? The spirit's gaze hardened. Only truth paid in blood can cleanse blood-stained water. The river rumbled ominously. Return to your village, Dara said. Let suffering teach what words could not. With a final surge, the water crashed down. Dara vanished. What is that smell? Mama Esi cried, dropping her basket in the fields. Elder Sola bent down, his face tightening. The yams, they are black inside. Across Ayamfei, panic rose with the sun. Corn stalks bent unnaturally, leaves yellowing in hours. Goats refused to drink from the river, bleeding in distress. The water is shrinking, a fisherman shouted. I can see the riverbed. Funk stood frozen in the square, Dara's words echoing in her head. The curse will begin with dawn. By noon, coughing filled the air. Children burned with fever. Even the strongest men staggered. This is no illness, Baba Kunnal said grimly. This is judgment. Prince Adikunnal summoned the elders.
Bring her back.
Find the woman, he demanded. Bring her back. But Dara was gone. That night, Funk, Kola, Ao, and Tundi dreamed the same dream. BC stood by the river, her eyes hollow. You watched, she whispered. You laughed. You judged. They woke screaming. We must tell them, Ao gasped. No, Funk whispered, trembling. If they know what we did. The river cracked like thunder in the distance. There is no hiding, Kola muttered. Blood remembers blood. I know this sickness, Elder Sola said slowly, his voice shaking as he studied the ancient markings on a wooden tablet. I have seen it once before, in the stories my grandfather whispered. Prince Adikunnal leaned forward. What stories? The story of BC, the elder replied. The woman thrown into the river for refusing marriage. A gasp swept through the council hut. That was generations ago, another elder protested. Curses do not age, Baba Kunnal said. They wait. Funk's knees buckled. She collapsed before the elders. It was us, she sobbed. We led her to the river. Kola, Ao, and Tundi followed, their voices breaking as they confessed. The spirit said, we are their descendants, Tundi cried. We carry the same blood. Silence fell heavy. Elder Sola closed his eyes. The river goddess demands balance. What balance? Prince Adikunnal asked quietly. The elder looked at them with sorrow. Those who repeated the sin must return to the river willingly. Funk screamed. You want us to die? To choose, Baba Kunnal replied, as BC was denied. Outside, thunder rolled though the sky was clear. We will do it, Kola said suddenly, tears streaming. If our lives can save the village. Funk stared at the river in the distance, shaking. I wanted to be seen, she whispered. Not remembered like this. The river answered with a low, waiting roar. We cannot falter now, Kola said, gripping Funk's trembling hand. If we do, Ayamfei will suffer forever. Ao nodded, his face pale. The visions. I cannot forget BC's screams. We cannot let history repeat itself. Tundi swallowed hard, staring at the river. Do you think it will be quick? Funk's lips quivered. I do not know, but I cannot let the village die because of my pride. The four of them walked in silence through the empty streets. Villagers peeked from behind doors, eyes wide with fear. Not a word was spoken, only the river's distant gurgle guiding them. As they reached the bank, the water shimmered unnaturally, moonlight reflecting off ripples that seemed alive. Kola knelt first. I am sorry, he whispered, for all the harm we have caused, and all the harm our ancestors caused before us. Ao followed. I accept my debt. May the river forgive me. Tundi stepped forward, trembling but resolute. I give myself willingly, so others may live. Finally, Funk sank to her knees, tears streaking her face. I surrender. May this end the cycle of cruelty. The river surged around them as though accepting their words. A low hum filled the air, rising to a roar. The moonlight shone brighter, reflecting the faces of the four, shining not in fear, but in resolve. Then, slowly, the water receded, calm and clear, as if nothing had happened. The villagers, watching from the shadows, blinked in disbelief. Rain began to fall, light at first, then in sheets, washing over Ayamfei as the river swelled once more. The rain poured relentlessly, filling the shriveled riverbeds and soaking the cracked earth. Villagers poured into the streets, mouths open in awe and fear. Crops, long blackened and rotting, seemed to stir as green shoots pushed through the soil. Elder Sola lifted his hands to the sky. The curse, it is lifting. Look! a young girl cried, pointing to the river. The water sparkled under the moonlight, flowing freely as if nothing had ever touched it. From the bank, Dara's spirit emerged, shimmering like moonlight on water. She gazed at the villagers, her eyes deep and calm. "The river goddess tested you," she said. "And now, thanks to those who acknowledged their blood, the village may live." Funk fell to her knees, overwhelmed. We did what we must," she whispered. Tears streamed down her face, washing away pride and shame alike. Kola, Ao, and Tundi appeared beside her, looking pale but at peace. "May we be remembered not for our sins," Kola said quietly, "but for choosing the right path in the end." The villagers looked on, some trembling, some weeping. Elder Sola addressed them all, his voice firm. "Learn from this. A woman's choice is hers alone. To force, humiliate, or judge is to invite ruin upon yourselves." The river hummed gently, as if nodding in agreement. The wind carried Dara's voice in whispers across Ayamfei. "Remember BC. Remember me. Let no generation repeat the darkness of their predecessors." For the first time in weeks, the village felt peace settle over it. The water flowed, the rain soaked the fields, and the people stood silent, realizing that the test had ended. By morning, Ayamfei Village was transformed. The river sparkled in sunlight, crops stretched green and healthy, and the air smelled sweet and fresh. Villagers walked cautiously, as if expecting the darkness to return. But it did not. Elder Sola called the village together in the square. "We have seen the consequences of cruelty and pride," he said. "Generations ago, a woman named BC was cast into the river for claiming her freedom. Today, her story has spoken again." Funk stepped forward, her voice steady but trembling. "We, my friends and I, are descendants of those who wronged her. We have paid the debt willingly, but the lesson is for all of us, not just for us four." Ao, Kola, and Tundi nodded solemnly. "A woman's body is not a prize," Tundi said. "Her choices need no explanation." The villagers murmured in agreement, some ashamed, some relieved, and some thoughtful. Parents held their children closer, realizing that stories passed down from elders were not merely tales, they were warnings. Elder Sola lifted a hand. "From this day, let no one forget. We will carve BC's story into the stone at the riverbank, so that our descendants, and their descendants after them, remember the cost of greed, jealousy, and cruelty." The crowd fell silent as a young apprentice began etching the words into a flat, smooth stone, each stroke deliberate, as the river whispered alongside. Dara's spirit appeared one last time, gliding over the water. "Peace has returned," she said softly, "but the river watches always. Teach your children well, Ayamfei, so that darkness may never again claim this land." The villagers bowed their heads, the memory of the night fresh but the lesson now eternal. Weeks passed, but Ayamfei Village remained cautious. In the market, whispers of Dara and BC's story floated through the stalls like a gentle wind carrying a warning. "She walked alone and refused the prince," one woman said, tying her basket tightly. "And yet, the river protected her. Do you think it could happen again?" another asked, nervously glancing toward the river. Funk, standing nearby, overheard them and smiled faintly. She had changed. Where jealousy and pride once ruled her heart, humility now resided. She approached a group of young women. "Do not fear solitude," she said softly. "Your choices are yours. Let no one tell you otherwise." Kola, Ao, and Tundi worked alongside villagers, rebuilding the damaged riverbanks and tending to the recovering crops. Each day reminded them of the cost of arrogance and the power of selflessness. Even the children had learned. Little Ayabo tugged on her mother's wrapper. "Mama, the river remembers," she said solemnly. "Yes, child," her mother whispered, smiling despite the unease the memory brought. "And so must we." As the sun dipped behind the hills, a soft glow appeared along the riverbank. Dara's spirit had returned one evening, not to punish, but to watch. Her voice carried in the wind. Teach the next generation. Honor the choices of every woman. The river is patient, but it remembers all. That night, the villagers slept under a sky full of stars, a sense of peace in their hearts, yet a quiet reverence for the lessons that had reshaped their lives. The river ran full and bright, singing softly as it wound through Ayamfei. Villagers began to treat it with newfound respect, leaving offerings of fruit and flowers along its banks, not to appease, but to honor the lessons it carried. "I never thought water could teach more than thirst," Baba Kunnal said one morning, watching young children play along the edges of the river. "But it taught us humility, patience, and respect." Funk knelt by the water, letting the cool current wash over her fingers. "We thought we were brave before," she whispered, "but we were blind." Kola, standing beside her, added, "We were not brave, we were cruel. Now, perhaps we can be guardians of memory instead." From the trees across the river, a faint shimmer appeared. Dara's spirit floated above the water, her form gentle and serene. "I am not here to frighten you," she said. "I am here to remind you. The river watches. It honors courage, truth, and respect for choices." Eo smiled faintly. "We will teach them every day. No child will hear our story and think women are objects to claim or punish." Tundi tossed a small stone into the water, skipped twice, then sank. "The river forgave us," he said quietly. "It gives us a second chance. We must honor it." Funk, Kola, Ao, and Tundi remained there until the sun dipped low, the water glowing gold. They vowed to carry Dara's warning forward. The river was alive, and the village would remember forever. Even in its calm, the river hummed a low, steady warning. Choice is sacred, and those who violate it will be held accountable. By the riverbank, the villagers gathered once more. Elder Sola held a chisel and hammer, guiding the apprentices' hands as they carved the names and story of BC into a large, flat stone. "This stone will speak for us when we cannot," Elder Sola said solemnly. "It will remind every child, every parent, that a woman's choice is hers alone. No one may demand it, and no one may punish her for it." Funk watched the carving, her fingers tracing the grooves as if trying to memorize each word. "I never understood before," she whispered to herself. "Now I see the truth. The river Dara BC. They all demanded we remember." Kola placed a hand on her shoulder. "We will teach them. Every generation must know. Otherwise, the darkness will return." Ao nodded. "And we will speak not of pride, but of respect. Not of punishment, but of understanding." The villagers worked together in silence, the only sound the rhythmic strike of hammer against chisel, echoing against the river's soft murmur. Children watched curiously, listening as elders explained the story, making sure the lesson took root in their young minds. As night fell, the river shimmered under the moonlight, and Dara appeared one final time. She hovered above the water, her eyes gentle but firm. "The lesson is carved, the blood repaid, the choice honored," she said. "Let no generation forget, and let no heart fall into the darkness of judgment again." The villagers bowed their heads in reverence, understanding the weight of the night and the centuries of wrongs finally made right. The stone stood firm, a permanent guardian of memory, shimmering faintly in the silver moonlight. Years passed, and Ayamfei Village thrived once more. The river flowed strong and clear, its waters sparkling under the sun, nourishing crops and filling the hearts of the villagers with life and hope. Children grew up hearing the story carved into the stone, their eyes wide with awe and understanding. "Remember BC," parents would say. "Respect every choice, and honor the river that watches all." Funk, now older and wiser, walked along the riverbank one evening. She traced her fingers over the smooth stone where the story remained etched. "We almost destroyed everything," she murmured, her voice carrying softly across the water. "But the river gave us a second chance. We will never forget." Kola, Ao, and Tundi stood with her, their faces lined with age but softened by peace. The river reminds us, Kola said, that courage is not only in fighting, but in accepting truth, in protecting choice, and in honoring life. From the shimmering waters, a gentle glow appeared. Dara's spirit lingered, a silent guardian watching over the village. Her presence was no longer frightening but comforting, a reminder of the lessons learned and the darkness that had been overcome. Let this be told for generations, Elder Sola would remind them. A woman's body is never a prize. Her decisions need no justification, and those who forget the past invite its return. And so, Ayamfei Village lived on, forever mindful of the river, the spirit, and the woman who refused to be bound. Travelers who passed through spoke of the village where daughters were free to choose, where silence was no longer law, and where the water always carried the memory of Dara and BC, whispering their lesson to anyone willing to listen. The river hummed softly at night, a lullaby of freedom, choice, and enduring wisdom. Thank you for watching Frankie Stories. Please give us a like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, we love you.